Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Straight Talk for the Soul series. I'm Carrie Murphy, your host and the creator and founder of this global broadcast and community. I want to extend a bright and a very beautiful good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you tuning in from around the world. Welcome to our listening family and our sacred circle here. I am excited to delve into the secrets and the magic of ancient Egypt with Jill Mattson and all of you today. But first, I want to remind you that if you haven't subscribed to this show, it is free. Just go to straighttalkforthesoul.com and you'll get news about upcoming shows, replays, and lots of free gifts. You can also find us on iTunes and YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. Just enter in Straight Talk for the Soul to find us. And please share your comments and your feedback anywhere that you feel inspired to do so. And if you're with us live on the call today and you've joined us by computer, let us know how you're doing, how you're feeling. Share any questions or comments that you have in the webcast Q&A box. And I want to thank you for deciding to be here with us today. I invite you to energetically take my hand and then just connect heart to heart, because we're going to go on another soulful adventure today. We are rediscovering the deep secrets and the magic of old Egypt with my beautiful co-creative partner, Jill Mattson. Today you're going to learn why we are instinctively drawn to ancient Egypt and why ancient Egypt endured as the most powerful historical and spiritual mystery of all times. Jill will share information about the Egyptian resurrection frequencies and the Tree of Life transformations, and you will experience ancient sound codes just like those that were used in the Egyptian temples to open powerful energy streams. We will discuss how each temple brought or taught special techniques employing higher dimensional energies for selfless acts of white magic for healing, restoration, fast spiritual evolution, manifesting, and altering one's life in incredibly surprising ways. Jill will also reveal past life memories from the priest and priestesshood of ancient Egypt, and you'll find out how that information will help you in this lifetime. And now let me tell you a little bit about Jill, and we will get started. Jill Mattson is a prolific artist. She's a musician and an author. She's a widely recognized expert and composer in the field of color and sound healing. She's also produced 9 musical CDs with intriguing magical tracks using ancient and modern techniques and special healing frequencies to achieve profound benefits. Jill is a 4-time author. She has participated in many hundreds of teleseminars, radio shows, and magazines, and she offers an online sound and color healing school, and she presents new ways of approaching health and everyday issues using the benefits of sound and color. I am very grateful that she's here with us today, and I ask all of you to open your hearts and join me in extending many, many waves of love and light and appreciation to Jill as I welcome her to the show. So, Jill, welcome, my dear.
Oh, and many waves of love and appreciation back at you and all of our wonderful listeners. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. I am so excited about this topic, Jill. We haven't spoken about this together before, and, you know, I'm sure people are wondering, I know we all know you as a sound healer, and, you know, you've done some wonderful work here on this show. And, you know, when did you begin learning or rediscovering all of this stuff about ancient Egypt? When did that come into play?
I've been researching sound for 25, 30 years, and it started on a religious quest. I was searching through all of the religious documents all over the globe, looking for the most loving version of God, thinking however I could image or feel or construct God in my mind, that's going to reflect on who I am. You know, like if you have a nasty God, you know, what does that say about you? So anyway, I'm doing this quest, and I started out with the Bible, the Babylonian, the Serpentine, cut into the Kabbalah, shortly went into the Sumerian mysteries, and I'm looking for ideas on how to connect with all that is, or God, or whatever word you want. And that led me into the Egyptian mysteries. They are just great. But just reading the Egyptian mysteries didn't reveal the secrets. There was a widespread belief in most of these ancient mystery schools, for example, Lao Tzu or the Buddha or some of the Indians, that this very deep sound or their big secrets with quantum energy or magic, we'd call it quantum physics, that they're very, very powerful, and you can use them to control other people. They believed that it was the misuse of this information that led to the fall of Atlantis. Now, whether that's true or not, is up to the listener, but they believed that. Therefore, all of these schools kept their information secret and encoded it. They were using sound to become abundant, to change your personality, to get rid of your flaws, to grow gardens, to lift rocks, to build, to make warriors, to all kinds of very practical benefits. And so they spoke in code. And one other thing about Egypt is, man, can they keep a secret? I don't know about you, but my experience with secrets are they don't last too long. It's so tempting to just tell a secret. In the Egyptians, they had secrets on their pyramids, mummies, mysteries, with the stars, their practices, and not a peep on a lot of this stuff in 3,000 years. And so they were very, very serious about maintaining this information because they believed this is what kept them in power. And so it was actually by learning about the Chinese and let's say the Chinese had a mystery school and they're trying to train their top students. They have to attract their top students. So they'd leak out in clear Chinese or whatever was clearly explained one or two of their secrets. Kind of like, we see a movie trailer and then everybody wants to go to the movie. So I would learn a secret or two from China, and then I'd learn one from Greece. Then I'd learn one from Hawaii. Then I'd learn one from, the Aztecs. And then when I went back and read the papyri again, I could figure out what they were talking about. When you don't have a knowledge of music, mathematics, quantum physics, psychic abilities, which were very prized, when you read those papyri, they sound like they're on drugs or something. But once you understand what's going on, then all of a sudden it's like, as the Bible says, for those who can hear, all of a sudden you've heard it all your life, but finally you hear it this time and you get it. Like here's just a little example. I remember reading, this is one of my favorite examples, about the cure for a cracked skull was to sleep with an ostrich egg. And the first time I read that, I was tee-hee.
Oh, wow.
That's crazy.
I hadn't heard that one yet. Okay.
I thought, oh, my gosh, what were they smoking? So anyway.
Exactly.
But then I wrote this book with Sherry Edwards, and Sherry can hear sounds coming out of 2D and 3D shapes. In other words, an egg always makes the same sound. It's below our hearing range, but it makes the same sound. And then I got into other mathematicians who would come up with how to calculate the frequency of shapes. And this is just modern math. And then if you think about resonance, you have two violins in front of you, and you play a string on one, and you leave the other all alone. The second one that hasn't been touched will start to sing A. It's energy transfers on the same frequency. That's just science. Resonance, it's called. So if you have an ostrich egg, which is about the size of a human skull, and it's singing its little healing tone, and it's next to you, slowly but surely, it's going to heal your skull. Today, you can go to a bone doctor, and many of them will do this, and when you've broken a bone, and they'll give you a little tone box, and they'll boast that they can take the time for your bone to heal at least to half. And that's because you're just listening to the frequency of a healthy bone.
Interesting.
So what they were doing wasn't crazy at all. It was quantum physics. And I just didn't have enough background when I first started this to to understand. But I've had this lifelong quest of learning all over the globe, and I'm pretty sure I've got a lot of it. Maybe not all of it, but I've got some really good, juicy techniques and things from ancient Egypt.
Right. So why do you think that people, have this instinctual, they're just magnetized or drawn to ancient Egypt? So many of our listeners, I've received quite a few emails already from people before the show started, who feel this connection, to Egypt. How would you describe, the reason for that? What is all that about?
Well, I think there's a lot of reasons. One is, they were enduring power for 3,000 years. The United States became a wealthy, kind of influential country, after World War II, so maybe 100 years. And look at all the strife we are having at the moment. 3,000 years is a long time to be on the top of the pile of the earth. And so this was very powerful, and they attribute their power, their wealth, their huge pyramids, their achievements, to their spiritual mastery. And aren't we all light workers on the path of spiritual mastery? Mm-hmm. Furthermore, they were interested in things that light workers are interested in: aligning with the stars, longevity, abundance, health. So they were looking for what I think our listeners are looking for. And then I also believe there's a collective unconscious. You can call it past lives.
Right.
Edgar Cayce read, thousands of past lives of people who had been in the priesthood in ancient Egypt. And they had worked with this, I'm going to call it quantum physics. Egyptian priests would have called it magic. But they had worked with this. They knew it worked. They know what you can do with it. They know the power. They know the benefits. And because it's a past life or perhaps collective consciousness, it's like it's true, but it's maybe murky. You're just attracted to it.
Exactly.
And, and I think
there's a part of us that remembers
exactly what's going on.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have written in about their connection to, Goddess Isis. I'm seeing quite a few messages in our Q&A box about that. And, feeling that connection to her and to lifetimes in Egypt and the mystery schools. And, it's like we have some memory, and for many of our listeners, they've probably dedicated time and even years to activating that, in this lifetime. So, so how deeply did you go into researching the mystery schools?
Well, the secrets hidden within the papyri are the mystery schools, and as I said, they're written in code. They're not meant to be understood. Almost all mystery schools did this. Like in the Sumerians, they say, I think the word, just like the Bible, for those who have ears to hear. And then they either won't talk or they talk what sounds like gibberish. So I would say it took me about 25 years to put this together.
Wow. Yeah, okay. Every time you come here, Jill, it's pretty fascinating how you take all of this information and then you create these audios that how would you describe, your intention with them? Is it to awaken aspects of us? Is it for healing? And specifically with regard to these Egyptian sound healing audios.
Sure. I would say that as you raise your consciousness, if you do it significantly, a byproduct might be curing your health, becoming abundant, knowing your life path, raising your consciousness. The Egyptians might have used the word power. And what I've done, particularly, there's many things in this program and that we're going to talk about today, but the Sephiroth is perhaps my most exciting gift here. And the Sephiroth are the little circles in the Kabbalah tree of life. And recall that Moses was raised as a Pharaoh's son. Moses, as a Pharaoh's son, had access to all of the innermost secrets of all the temples. That's Isis, Horus, Hathor, all of them. And when he leaves, of course they're concerned about losing their slaves, which they would consider an asset. They're also concerned about losing their secrets and their power. He's taking their deep spiritual heritage. I believe the most powerful secret of the Egyptian is the Sephiroth. And if you look at the inscriptions, the tree of life of the Kabbalah that the Jewish people had, it came from Egypt. And in the Egyptian tree of life, what it is, it's a view of God or all that is. And it's the idea that God was, energy and perhaps was looking for adventure or excitement or know itself, experience itself, and it kind of like fragmented. So if you can think of beautiful white light going through a crystal and it breaks down to the colors on the wall, we'll call that fractals, or we'll call that, segments. And so as God kind of unfolds in these segments, it has, or he has, she has, different qualities. And just like white light goes through a crystal and breaks into rainbow colors, then, pink would be associated with Isis or deep love or action. Yellow is going to be with Horus or Ra, wisdom, the sun, the big picture. And so as God kind of unfolds, he develops these different attributes. And there's many ways you could call them. You could call them like wisdom, justice, mercy. You could call them in terms of virtue. You could use them in terms of colors. The Egyptians talked about all these qualities of God, and they put their gods as protectors. So on each little Sephiroth, which is a circle in the Kabbalah tree of life, is an Egyptian god or goddess. And the idea is that we have chosen to be human and individual. So if we're going to be individual, we're not tuning into the minds of a billion people. We're thinking our thoughts. We're experiencing our actions and the result. And so since we have chosen this, these higher energies of God were guarded by the Egyptian pantheon. And I believe that Moses' Yahweh would kind of like be the sum total. Perhaps Moses was somehow around the time of Akhenaten, where they had the one sun god. But as the sun breaks down in the component rainbows, you could say that the rainbow and white light are the same. One is just broken down into smaller compartments. And so they would say that God is the tree of life, and it's all these attributes of God. And since we've chosen to involve, we've chosen to have this experience where we're just us, we get a super dumbed down version of this celestial energy. Because that's what we can handle. That's how you live in a world of duality. And one of the things they did in the mystery schools, what they had symbols, like you can see on the Kabbalah, and it was almost like they would meditate and stare at those symbols to try to eke out some of the God energy. And again, kind of like my example with the ostrich egg, at first it sounds a little crazy, but let me refer you to the Hindu tradition, where those very powerful masters will say, you can look at the yantra, which is a sacred geometry diagram in the Hindu ideas. And they say if you spend a lot of your lifetime looking at that, just look at the diagram, you're going to achieve ascension. And then they say, no problem. If you don't want to do that, take 1,000 lives. But they're saying just,
right.
Yeah. They're
right.
saying it's so powerful. We don't think that when we look at something, we take in frequencies. When we hear something, we take in frequencies. We do.
Yeah,
and so this is the frequency. Yeah, this is the frequency pattern of God, this Sephiroth. And it was most carefully guarded because it wasn't the secrets of Isis, just. It wasn't just the secrets of Horus. It wasn't just the Hathors. It wasn't just this. It's all of them.
Okay,
it's
so
kind
what
of
I'm
like the big blueprint, and and then they had methods of making their shapes into sounds, which
right. That's what I was just going to ask
later on
you.
we're going
Okay.
to listen to. Yeah.
So, from your perspective, would you say that, because your approach or what you share is sound, and so in the same way that you're describing that, if someone were to look at an image, they become entrained with it, and could achieve enlightenment or ascension or however you want to phrase it, like with your sound healing, it's kind of the same thing. It's bringing all of this into sound, and as people listen to it, they become entrained with these higher frequencies, and gives them the opportunity for ascension or enlightenment or a greater experience of whatever it is, manifestation.
Exactly.
Okay.
And here's another real life example. Think of Reiki. And
yes.
Reiki's very commonplace now, but when it first came in, it was really something to be able to have that white light come from your hands. And when you take that class, you get an attunement.
Right,
well,
I did that about 20 years ago.
It's just, it's a little drawing.
Yeah.
You look at a drawing, and it opens up the chakras in your fingers.
Right.
And it's very much the same concept here. But when you put that drawing into sound, it's more like high test attunement. And in these attunements of the Sephiroth, I have them on videos so that you can look at the symbol for, let's say, a dosage by looking, and then an ancient practice of using actions in your fingers and hands to get another dosage, and then listening to the sounds. So it's very powerful.
So it's amplified.
And I also, yeah, that's the idea. I also put it in MP3s just because you can loop them and get a lot of listening time, like when you're sleeping or doing other things. You ingest sound all the time.
So for you, Jill, do you listen to your own attunements and your own sound frequencies? And if so, I'm sure that you do. How does it affect you?
I think it alters my consciousness, and I simply become more conscious. I can't say that, I've arrived. I certainly haven't, and I wouldn't be on Earth if I had arrived yet, I believe. So I'm still in the process of growing like everybody else. But I do notice that my life has changed, that when I start to manifest something, it comes in quickly, sometimes more than I want. Sometimes my health issues have been much more manageable. And when I, let's say bump into challenges, be it a person or a situation, I'm very quickly conscious enough to see it as darkness and not necessarily associate myself with it, and start using some of these ancient practices on it. And that's a massive change in the way that I used to live my life. Massive change.
Okay.
And it's from using this.
That's wonderful. And I know how dedicated you are to all of this. And since I've known you, I mean, you are incredibly beautiful and gentle and just such a loving being. So I can see how these must have supported all of that. So Sephiroth, I want to make sure I'm pronouncing that correctly. Sephiroth.
I believe that's correct.
Okay.
As I mentioned earlier, a lot of these terms are coming in from the Kabbalah and many ancient writings, and they didn't standardize the spelling, and I've heard people pronounce things various different ways. So no problem. Sephiroth works for me.
Okay. Because we're really honing in on this topic of Sephiroth, and from what I heard you say, these are the circles in the Kabbalah tree of life. And so you have created a sound attunement from these circles. Is that how
right.
So how did you do that? How do you do that?
Okay. The ancient people had two aspects of sound that they really valued, pretty much on the radar today, is frequency. Everybody's all above frequency, and everything's an energy, and that means it vibrates. You can count how fast at a given period of time, i.e. frequency. But the ancient people were also very interested in harmonics. And just as white light goes through a crystal and breaks into like fractal colors, the rainbow, if you will, sound does the same thing. For example, you can take your voice and use a little piece of software called Fast Fourier Transform, and you'll find that just like white light can break into component colors, your voice can break down into component colors. So I'm forgetting where I'm heading now. Okay, so with these, could you remember the last question you said?
I'm trying to remember myself. I was kind of like,
okay,
so I was trying to help you.
Component.
And I was asking how you created the sounds from the separate circles.
That's it. Thank you. So
I remembered.
They had they had a whole secret, and you'll find it in the Greeks, you'll find it in the Sumerians, you'll find it in the Chinese, and they're working with harmonics. And harmonics is kind of like that breakdown of the sound. If you're in a cathedral and you have a beautiful note, you'll find that it goes up in pitch. It just seems to echo. And if you listen very carefully, it goes up in pitch. And I believe Pythagoras is credited with this, although it's much older, that it goes up in pitch according to mathematic formula. So it goes up like C, then a high C, an octave higher, and then a G. And it has this little mathematic pattern, and it's called harmonics. Mm-hmm. And everything in your body, I believe everything in the universe, is frequency and harmonics. And the and harmonics part hasn't really, it just hasn't gotten on the radar of light workers yet. It will be because it's very powerful. And different things have different harmonics or after ripples of sound. You know, think that you're on a bridge and you drop a rock in the water and you make a hole in the water and the rock goes to the bottom, but then you see the circles going out. In this analogy, we'll compare them to harmonics. Mm-hmm. So you have these after ripples, and the way after ripples are that you have different emphasis or different amounts of strength or energy in different pitches. For example, think of a trumpet playing a C, and then a violin playing a C. The violin's going to sound higher because the wood creates a different harmonic than the metal of the trumpet. Here's another example. A, E, listen, it's the same pitch. A, E, but E sounds higher. And that's because it throws more energy into the higher harmonic. And like your digestion might have one harmonic pattern, your circulation might have another, the way that your heart works together might have yet another harmonic pattern. All of antiquity talked about music of the spheres, and the old astronomers were all saying that, and they found it in some of the orbits, that there's harmonics in the solar system. And the ancient people would have vowel sounds, which are harmonics. And when Pharaoh died, for example, the way to get him to the highest dimension, to the most consciousness, the most spiritual everything, was a vowel chant. And the same was prized in the in the Greeks as well, with this sacred vowel chant. It was also paralleled like to orbits of stars and frequencies. And so they would use pitch, almost like a graph, like pitch and harmonics. And then they would take the shapes, kind of like superimpose them on both of those almost graphed figures, and then you can sound out pitches and vowels, which was their way of creating the pitch and the harmonics. Today we can do it on computer, but they didn't have computer. They used these sacred vowel chants. Even with Helena Blavatsky and all of the mystery schools and the ancient wisdom from the Great Right Brotherhood and the Ascended Master teachings, they're all saying the fastest way to ascension isn't a diagram, it's this vowel chant. And it's pretty much the same vowel chant going around. So that's what I've done. And then I put in other frequencies, like we're going to listen to a couple of these. For example, we're going to listen to Keter, And Keter is the Sephiroth that is, it's like the first Sephiroth. It's before God or all that is starts to break down into smaller components. It's the whole. And so I put in with this the vow chants, and then it had they had an Ein Sof, which was kind of like a being that's kind of like Moses' Yahweh, and I channeled him. It's associated with fire energy. I put in all of the star frequencies in their orbits. I put in the 111 frequency, or the master number. I put in then all the master numbers with a heavy predominance of 111. I put in all of the DNA tones. It's just the big picture.
Yes,
and
this is
I
so
put that in with
fascinating
the
to me.
vouchers.
And
So that's the kind of way I constructed them. Yeah, that's okay.
Wow, okay. So let me know when you want to do a sampling of one of these audios.
Well, let's do one right now.
Okay,
fact,
that's what I was doing.
Why don't you let me do like a little channeling? I talked about what's in Keter, and maybe I think that's the first one. Maybe we could cue that up.
Okay.
And then let me channel the Ein Sof. And
Beautiful.
we'll just take you in a little deep meditation. And then I'll say something like, cue up the MP3. Is that good?
That's perfect. I'm ready.
You play.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay, so here we go. Deep within, you have portholes and access to all that is. You have access to the very familiar, loving beings that have been with you in many, many ages, countries, and incarnations. And now we're talking about the Egyptian gods and goddesses. All of this is deep within. If you have any questions or any doubts, there's many ways to investigate, perhaps research, reading. But I would suggest that simply by turning inward, getting very still, almost pregnant with potential, deep, thick potential in which all is possible, just go to that imagination. And there I am. And there you are. This is a beautiful state to go into when you prepare to manifest. It is pulling in the potentiality of all. And just reminding you that's all coming from within you. And just savor that rich knowing, deep knowing. And let's play the Keter Sephiroth.
Okay, Jill. That was beautiful, Jill.
Thank you.
That would be something so beautiful to listen to go into meditation or before you go to sleep or even in the mornings. And that was just a little sampling of that. Trying to keep myself very present to host the show when listening to those, Jill.
Yeah, it's kind of like very expansive.
It absolutely is. Yes. Wow. Okay. So that was, what was the name of that one again, Jill? That was,
Keter.
Okay, Keter. Yeah. Okay. Wow. All right. So what, for our listeners, if they're wondering, let's talk about the benefits of, this and just from understanding some of these ancient Egyptian secrets and, what are the real benefits? I know we've talked about some of them, but, if someone joined us later, they're wondering, okay, what's the purpose? What do you say to that?
All righty. I did a video package here, and I came up reteaching techniques from many of the temples. I believe there's over like 5 hours of videos. I've done some on power and rebirth. The pharaoh every 26 years had to do like a triathlon. He was considered more like a god, and a god, of course, would have perfection in all ways, including health. So every 26 years, in front of a crowd, he had to do a triathlon. That means that, I don't know what age he starts, but, maybe 50s and 70s or something. He's doing a triathlon. I mean, I don't think I could have done that when I was 20. But, yeah. So what were their techniques? And sometimes they're surprisingly simple. And, I can tell you about this one, but it was that they did a meditation, very visceral, deep meditation, and they would go in and imagine themselves, like imagine their skin, imagine their heart, imagine their organs, maybe go from top to bottom, and kind of like lock in their youth. And there are many science studies today showing that the body can regenerate. They've shown it with bees, like older bees that get in with younger bees. They start thinking like the younger bees, and their body goes backwards. And there's numerous studies coming in that your power of thinking has a lot to do with your aging. And so, like, for example, that's a technique from one of the techniques. There's a little program there on doing your own past lives and going into the lives of the priest and the priestesses. Again, that's something that's just not out there. But when I went into that, there were certain things that sounded so familiar. And as I learned about the different temples, I found myself, with no explanation, attracted to this temple, this God, but not that. And so I put that information out and then do a video in which you can work on unveiling your own past lives. I suspect everybody listening's been in the priesthood, and they've learned a different category of treatments, like there's a dozen ways to do Reiki. I also went into harmonics and the work of thoughts and magic words, altering your voice, and getting into the sounds for abundance. They had this, another temple had this technique called Elohim breath, and it's just an ancient breathing technique. And when I do it, it's like I can just feel like this band around my forehead and head, all kinds of really high energy around my head. In the Temple of Isis, they would believe that the fourth dimension was very real, and in the fourth dimension, many people had wings. And if you notice, like with many of the pictures of Isis, she's got her hands out and she's got wings.
Right.
And they would use those wings, and they would use them in different ways, like a tool. And so there's techniques in there. I did Egyptian feng shui. Every ancient culture did feng shui, and they did it very differently. They believed that a space is frozen music, and mathematically it is. And there's many techniques that are really simple and easy to start to alter your house and your arrangement. Mm-hmm. Technically, if you had a heart issue, you could create an arrangement in your home to support that, because the shapes, the materials, the layouts, they all create frequencies. And you're in your home a lot, so you get a good dosage. Wow. They had, when they worked with the chakras, if you look at these Egyptian gods, a lot of them have these like colored balls on their head. Right. Isis, for example. And it's the soul star chakra. And they had many techniques for developing the soul star chakra. And later in time, like with Jesus, you see the chakra that's getting shown is the halo, is the one in the crown. Mm-hmm. But they would work with this because over time we get more and more involved into matter. So the Egyptians going to be a little bit more closer to God. So that's why they're working with the chakra above their head. And they would like disengage this chakra and take this energy into the front, into the back of them. And the aim was to take each of your chakra, instead of it being like a pinpoint of light that's so tiny we can barely measure it, although science can measure it. But the idea is to make it big. Mm-hmm. And so that's in there. Then Isis, I want you to think about Reiki, which white light comes out your hand. Well, maybe you could have colored light out your fingers, and combining toning and other healing modalities. I have some guided meditations, and also they were very good about using other dimensions and meditation to slip into the future or the past and leave energy. For example, to go into the future and leave energy for something you want to happen. In the Temple of Maat, I go into balancing. And another Egyptian thing is they believed in this thing called a ka body. And again, this is one of those things at first I thought, oh, brother. And then afterwards I ate my words. A ka body is your actual opposite energy. In quantum physics, I believe the Hadron Collider has confirmed this, but it's called quantum entanglement now. Mm-hmm. And we do have someplace out there is opposite balancing energy. And my girlfriend is a fabulous cranial sacral practitioner, and we would play on each other. And sometimes we would do like healing in, let's say, one area of the body, and then the next day it comes back. And so we started to work on the ka body, and we did that by intent, because again, physics shows us that the observer can bring into existence, the energy. I think that's the Schrodinger's cat experiment. So we would talk about using this ka body, and we would do Reiki, massage, and our sound healing, and different energy treatments on the ka body. And very often when we didn't get a complete cure in the physical body, we would get a permanent cure in the ka body, because the root source wasn't necessarily in the physical body. So go into that. And then the Egyptians are famous for their emerald tablet, and it's this, it's the alchemy of turning a stone into gold. Even Isaac Newton, as far as him, was fascinated with this. Mm-hmm. And the idea is that, how to put it, it's so much. I have a friend who did do this, but it took him year to figure it out. And, he gets like a teeny weeny drop of gold. The Egyptians could go take another country and get buckets of gold. They would never do this for wealth. Mm-hmm. Not too smart. The point isn't to get rich with turning stone to gold. The point is to take matter that's gross and turn it into fine. The point is enlightenment. And the point is using enlightenment, taking your illness and turning it into pure harmony, your health. Taking your lack of abundance and turning it into pure harmony, your health. So they would use techniques with elemental energies for turning base energy into refined energy. And let me see. I also have some work on agriculture, The Egyptians used sound for growing, as well as many ancient countries for germinating your seeds, for sounds of your seeds. I did quantum solfeggio and reverse solfeggio tones for kind of like your quantum balancing. So there's a whole host of things in these videos.
Jill, I want to let people know what we're talking about here, in case people are not aware. You've created, if they're new to the show and they may not know this, Jill has created an offer, a special offer for this community, and she has included an amazing amount of information that she's just been talking about in her special offer. There's 6 hours of videos on ancient Egypt. There's an hour of the Sephiro video attunements. There's 30 minutes of audio on the Sephiro higher dimensional attunements. There's so much in here, Jill. But I just wanted to let people know that in case they weren't sure where this was. It's at straighttalkforthesoul.com/marketplace, and just click on Jill Matson's smiling face, and you'll be able to find this offer. And Jill, I'm amazed at the amount of information and sharings that you have put into this offer. I mean, it's astounding to me the level, all that you have gathered over the years. I mean, you are just so full of knowledge on this. Okay, gosh. So I will let you. Have you covered most of what's in here, or is there more?
Yeah,
I think more.
Mostly.
Okay, gosh.
There might be more, and I think we have a bunch of bonuses in there.
We do.
I think I did tuning of the heart. I did an MP3 with frequencies of vitamins and muscles in your face and neck, and one with the solfeggio tones, and the reverse solfeggio, which would be like your call balance.
Right.
And I believe a chapter from ancient Egypt and their music from my Lost Ways of Time book.
Yeah, there's a lot of beautiful bonuses. I mean, this could keep someone busy for a long time, this offer. Okay. Wow. So I want to talk about the Tree of Life, okay? Because I want to have you explain it a little bit, because from what I'm seeing here, the Tree of Life blueprint, or the Sephiroth, they're portals to higher dimensional energy, and the Tree of Life has 10 portals. And this is all just so fascinating to me. I mean, it's not something that I have studied to the degree or depth that you have, Jill. But so in the videos, do you go in and talk about all of this so people have a deeper understanding?
Yes, and let me see how to put this. There's each one has many different attributes. It's kind of like if God started out as a tone, and he started to separate. Let's say he separated and went from C, and then he separated bum 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 bum, like a scale and so forth. Then each different note would be equated with an emotion. Each different note would be equated with a part of physicality. Each different note would be equated with a thought. It's mathematics. It's how everything in the universe can be expressed as numbers, expressed as frequencies. And what it is, it's kind of like a blueprint for the qualities of God. And because we are the children of God, they're all going to be things that make sense to us. For example, Keter was the expanse of the all of God, the wisdom of God, and we listen to that. And perhaps when we're done here, we can listen to another one. You could see that it's a little bit different. So each one of these Sephiroth are described, and then they had ancient techniques of kind of like doing like a labyrinth, if you will, with the sounds and your fingers. So you create energy by motion, by looking at them, and by listening to them. And they create the higher dimensional energy. Like, I think next one maybe we could listen to is Hekma. And Hekma is 2. So it's going to have intelligence. It's going to have like the higher male energy, selflessness. the energy of 222. It's the master numbers. I have the whales in there. I have the sounds of crystals, ATP, which is the white light that forms when you are born. I have sacred geometry. The gods that guard this are Ptah and Tehuti, and I've channeled them, so they have their energies in there. And each one of them is going to be a little bit different, giving you attributes of God, and really portholes or attributes, taking your own frequency base and just expanding the consciousness, taking it up octaves, opening divine energy portals.
Yeah, would you like to listen to a sampling of that?
Yeah, would you like me to channel maybe Ptah or to?
Absolutely, yes. Yes.
And then, here we go. I'll just see what comes through. Okay, hold on. I am Ptah. I have been with the birth of the universe. I am deeply involved in creation and manifesting in systems of worlds. There are paths that humans take upon their ascension, and they go through different paths. Perhaps one is learning to create systems of worlds. One might be learning more in involved love and returning to the earth. There are paths that involve learning details of all the rays, of the energies, of the breakdowns, and mastering them. I work in the creation. I will help you and enable you with your manifesting, using yourself as a generator. You see, every vibration or piece of energy that you move is part of you and is part of your holistic Akashic record. It's part of you. So every thought you're feeling, as Jesus later said, as you thinketh, so are you. You are a frequency generator. And we have on earth long forgotten the techniques of using our voice as a creator tool. I offer to be with you and work with you for those who remember me. And many of you have. And think that you could manifest peace on earth, peace in your neighborhood, peace in your family, peace in your relationships. And that when you heal and love the smallest of creatures, you heal and love the whole. Because it's all interchangeable energy through resonance. So I thank you for listening to this portal and downloading this beautiful divine energy. And we'll go and listen to this Sephiroth now.
Okay, Jill. Thank you for that sampling. Another beautiful, expansive sampling there. Jill, who were you channeling prior to the audio?
Ta.
Yes.
One
okay.
of the
yes. Someone had asked that, and I wanted to make sure that we got that out. So, Jill, you are. How have you, this entire time when you've been, creating all of these, the sound healing and all of this, have you been channeling these beings the entire time, or is this something relatively new for you, or how long has that been going on?
No, I've been channeling all along, and I'm sure I get a lot of help when I uncover these things, because I am a geek, but strangers will give me books, and people will show up on my desk and door strangers and say, you're supposed to talk to me, and I get ideas. I know they're given to me. I get dreams. So it's in the research, but I get help as well.
Yeah, because I don't believe that we've had you do any channelings like that live on the show before, the other times that you've been here. So I thought that was beautiful, and I have no doubt that you are being supported, highly supported. I want to let our listeners know, I want to take a few questions. If there are questions out there about what we've been talking about, we're going to take a few callers. So press *2 to raise your hand if you have a question related to this topic today. And in our webcast, Jill, it's kind of an interesting question, but I'll read it anyway. Chris in Arizona wrote in and said, what sound would you use if you happen to encounter harmful energy from people that you encounter? How do you answer that, or what do you say to that?
Okay, I would say this, that just as, remember we talked about God, and God kind of being all that is, and the energy goes through the prism, and it can come out into rainbow colors of the rainbow. So we'll think of each one of those attributes as an attribute of God, an attribute of us, child of God. So let's say every attribute that we have as a person in the third dimension has a positive and negative value. It's what happens when you're in duality. You experience these polarities. It's simply the science of our duality, of our worlds. And we as humans over the years, rather than thinking of like a battery, the positive and negative pole, we've assigned good and evil that has grown. So I would say that evil can be any frequency you want. You could have someone that's evil in that they're jealous, or someone that's evil in that they're sneaky, or, there's many ways to be good, and there's many ways to be harmful. What I would say is this, is that the stronger vibration overcomes the lesser. So if you simply go into your heart, go into your knowing, which is so strong, go into your love, just go inside and feel love and make any tone that comes out or is instinctual, that you're going to start to create the stronger vibe, and you are going to be the influencer, not the evil.
I love that response. Yes. The higher frequency is always the influencer.
Right.
Yeah. So, Chris, thank you for your question.
And also, on some levels, when we allow someone's evil frequencies to penetrate us, on some level we take back that authority. And there's your strength and your grounding and knowingness. And just go into love and make a tone, even if it's in your mind.
Right. And I would imagine someone would probably get very familiar with a lot of these higher frequency tones, like in your offer that you've created, Jill, and we've already talked about it, but if someone familiarizes themselves with these frequencies, they can start to tone them on their own. And yeah, what a beautiful thing. So, Jill, thank you for answering that question. And I will go to some live callers, but Bessie from California wrote in and said, "Magical Jill, when you speak, I can hear the music of the universe. Thank you for your wisdom and your generosity." She said, "Apparently I have a connection with Goddess Isis and a few lifetimes in Egypt. Could you please give me some insights about the purpose of that? Thank you and many blessings."
Okay. Just tell me her name one time.
Her name is Bessie.
Bessie. Okay, just give me a sec. Beloved Bessie, I am Isis. And yes, indeed, you have been in my temples in many lifetimes. You have been in me, been with me in Atlantis, Samaria, Greece, Egypt. We have been champions of compassion and love, of harnessing the energy, perhaps even in what today would call a scientific way, the energy of passion, the energy of compassion. We have done techniques to harness sexual energy, not in any type of relationship or romantic way, but in a way of gathering energy and taking the energy up our spine for enlightenment. You have participated and have done wonderfully in that. We have been the champions of those who need mother love, who need nurturing. We have, throughout the ages, been associated with mercy and kindness. And if you look at even pictures of the ruins of the temple, of my temple in Egypt, you will remember it, for you have spent many, many times there. We also had passion plays, much like today you would have a nativity play, and somebody would play Jesus and Joseph and the Mary. We would have with Horus and Isis and Osiris. And you were in the passion plays. And we did these for the people in incredible grand style. We would bring the temples, the statues out of the temple that were in the holiest of the holy. And at certain festivals, particularly around the star Saris birthing into the night sky, we would reenact. And it was more than a play. It was a play, but it was also dance, it was color, and it was actually making frequencies. We would create sacred geometry and patterns of nature on the ground, and we would trace them in the dance steps. And these would also be reflected in the body movements as we recreated the energies of nature, so beautifully made by our beloved Creator. And I wish to thank you for being with me. And our connection is deep. And you will find the connection not just in the Egyptian pantheon, but in many. And I am anxious to be reconnected and reunited and to walk more clearly with you again. Namaste.
Bessie, I sure hope you were still here to hear that. Bessie, if you're still listening there in the webcast, I'd love to hear from you. If you were able to hear and receive that beautiful message from Isis, wow, what a gift! Thank you, Jill. Thank you. Okay. Another Jill, Jill from London asks, what is the connection between Sirius and ancient Egypt?
All of the religions prior to the birth of civilization, i.e. in Sumari when we started writing, prior to that, the history that we're still marveling when we have archaeological digs, they were attempting to connect with higher beings, which some of our religions might call angels or ascended masters or whatever, or extraterrestrials, and they were remembering their planet of origin. Just as we talked about white light going through the prism and breaking out into the 7 rainbow colors, it technically could break out into the 12 colors of the color wheel. So you would have red, orange, yellow, etc. And that you can think of the midnight sky like trace a circle around, and there's astrology. That's today's astrology. But there was an astrology prior to today's astrology, which came in with the Ptolemies at the end of Egypt. The older astrology was just the stars kind of tracing that same circle around the night sky. And the people of Egypt, Isis and many others, attributed their lineage to the star of Sirius. Sirius being considered like, how to put it, the porthole to this universe, like the center of the universe. Like all people have gone through Sirius to go to another star system to get into this universe or this system of worlds. And so, you know, Sirius is equated with the heart of God, and with freedom. And it's very, very closely linked to the Egyptian pantheon.
Okay. Jill, I hope that answers your question. And so many questions are coming in. But this is an interesting one. Maria from Los Angeles. She said, the sound brings me to an altered state. How can using the tone for creating a community center with Isis, how can you use this tone, I think she means, for creating a community center with Isis? Is she assisting me now with dance movements and song color? Okay, there's a few different things there. I don't know if you got that, Jill, but...
okay, and her name again?
Her name is Maria.
Maria. Okay. Okay, so I'm just kind of collecting my thoughts here. So she wants to know about Isis, and her dance and colors.
Right, and using the tone how can she use that for creating a community center with Isis?
Okay, I'll just channel Isis. How about I do that? Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Okay, hold on. Yes, Maria, we have worked with you now and in many lifetimes. Humanity has forgot that dance is not just entertainment. Dance is a very active, visceral vibration created by very specific movements, and also adding to the magic would be the colors, and each color having their own power. When you worked with me in my temples, you had a long crystal wand, and you would close your eyes and simply look into the crystal with eyes closed, and you would see colors. And the colors would be that from the audience. And you would see colors simply by intent that were the greatest need for healing for the audience. And once you were able to use this technique, and simply your imagination, you can do it today, dear, you then tailored dances and colors and music selection for the healing of the people. So yes, we have worked. And you not only used it, but you used it in a very individually unique fashion for the listeners. Om, many saying being the sound of creation. Ah, oh, ooh, It has numerous sounds. It is a sound that impregnates and helps creation. It is a sound that augments the feeling of knowing. Of all the psychic gifts, today people might value clairvoyance, but I say to you that the most valuable gift is clairsentience, or simply knowing. Om creates the knowing, the birthplace. And within the Om and the Om vibration, as if you could get and reside in the in-breath between the Oms and imagine your center and birth your center. It is a very powerful way to augment manifesting. And I love and bless you and have enjoyed reconnecting.
Thank you, Jill, and thank you, Isis. Wow, I get chills every time you channel her. And Maria, beautiful Maria, hopefully you heard that. And Bessie, Jill, wrote back in and she says, "Oh my gosh, I am speechless, Jill. You are truly an extraordinary being. I'm sending my deep gratitude and love. I will listen again. Now I'm just in awe. Bless you both." That was from Bessie. So I wanted to pass that along. And Audrey wrote in saying the music brought me to tears. It was deep remembrance. Thank you so much. Beautiful. Oh, I can't. I have chills all over, Jill, when you channel Isis. They're just. Oh, okay. I want to take some of our. Are you okay with me taking a couple live callers, Jill?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wonderful. Okay. Okay. I'm going to go to area code 707. 707. You're live.
Hello.
Hello, and welcome. What is your name?
Hi, my name is Tesh.
Hi, Tesh. Nice to have you with us. Are you enjoying the call?
Yes, I have been just doing some work on my computer and listening to this and kept my phone on.
Good. Well, do you have a specific question for Jill?
When I was just, I was listening to the others, I just wanted her to see about me, what she can read for me about my...
Okay, let me try that. Let me see. Okay, hold on. I'm seeing two temples. I'm seeing the temple of Ptah and also that of Horus. And with Ptah, it's creator, it's manifesting, using sound and voice. With Hathor, we're talking about sounds and If you look at the pictures of the Hawthorns, they have enlarged ears, and that's because they did a lot with sound and music. And I'm getting that. Okay, this is a message I'm getting is that there's a difference between correcting your hearing and listening. Hearing being the mechanism within your body to receive sound, and we're going to say listening is the actual frequencies that you receive. And I'm feeling like that you worked with people. Oh, this is cool. Okay, what I'm getting is that you did something similar to headphones, that the right brain was considered in antiquity more powerful than the left, because the right brain is holistic. It's like our porthole to God. It's a source that takes us back. Our left brain would be our analytical, our mathematic, accounting, language. It happens in your left brain, not your right. Its language is way too segmented, departmentalized or something. And one of the things you did with the Hawthorns was you helped people to get into the right brain. For in the right brain, it was like a mechanism or a porthole to get back to the creator energy, to be more powerful. And you did it, I guess, by plugging an ear. The ears are across to the brain. So if you plugged, like today we put an earplug in your right ear, then no sound would go to your left brain. So that you worked with people and you were teaching them hearing. And I'm feeling like people are right-handed, left-handed, right-footed, left-footed, and right-eared and left-eared. And as kind of like a modality, you helped people advance their spirituality through accessing the whole brain and shutting down the left brain so that people just totally almost kind of like left their consciousness and associated with all that is. So they would ask a question and go through this process and this training so that they're operating in their holistic brain. And then the answer would come to them. And I'm also seeing the temple of Horus and Ra. And I'm seeing the sun. And the sun's kind of be equated with like the big picture. It's the same thing, kind of like with the right brain, the holistic, the none of the nitty-gritty, just the deep knowing, the deep connections, and kind of like drawing all the fragments in Ptah. I see Ptah, and he's showing me that kind of like when you do this, it's almost like you can go into like a void, and the void is pure creation, and that you did that. You did that in segments in the various temples that I've mentioned. And I'll leave you with that.
Wow, Tej. Wow. I know. Yeah. That is incredible. How was that to hear, Tej?
Oh my God. I just cannot describe.
I know. I can only imagine. I'm not you. Yeah. Wow, what beautiful information, Tej, to take with you and perhaps explore the Hathors a bit more and reactivate all of this knowing for yourself.
Wow. I'm still trying to process it.
Wow, well, you can listen again, too. Oh, yeah. All right, Tej, blessings to you. Go ahead, Tej.
Wow. This was in my past life you're talking about?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Past life in ancient Egypt. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Ancient Egypt was over 3,000 years. So, over 3,000 years, you could have many incarnations. And what they're saying is that you were in various temples, and they gave 3.
Wow.
The Temple of Ptah, Temple of Hathor, and, well, they gave more. I guess Horus and Ra.
Yeah, Tej, I would encourage you to listen again and
Yes.
to explore some of this. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're very welcome, Tej, and thank you, Jill, for that. Okay, Tej, take care. Blessings.
Okay, thank you.
Jill, I just can't thank you enough for it's incredible your connection to all of these beings, and everyone that you have spoke to personally here is so incredibly grateful, and so I want to pass along that immense gratitude that I'm feeling and that I'm reading. So what a gift you are, Jill. My goodness. I'm fascinated by this. I could take more and more questions. I certainly don't want to take up too much of your time, Jill, but if you are open to another question, let me know.
Sure.
And I know we have we have
so
many hands up. Okay, we'll take one more. Okay, I'm going to area code 916. 916.
Hello?
Hi, welcome. You are live with us.
Oh, that's wonderful. What a surprise. I just got on, and I was thinking about Jill the other day, wanting to hear some sound healing, and here she is.
And here you are. You're real?
I know. Yeah. I realize that sound is what enlivens me, and especially with crystals, and there is a connection with Egypt, and not so much ancient Egypt, but somewhere a while back, 1,000 years or so, where there was music and there was also sculpture. And I'm not really remembering, but I feel it in my body. And I was wondering,
what is your name?
Oh, yes, my name is Kim.
Okay, Kim. So are you wanting to know a little more information about that from Jill?
Yes, if that's possible.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. The Egyptians were into heaven on earth, and they did that by emulating patterns in nature. Like, for example, even the very earliest mastabas, the pre-runner to a tomb, they were all in the dimensions of phi, P-H-I, which is abundantly found in nature. And you'll find that geometries found in nature are found in all of their buildings and temples and layouts and designs. Even the height of, like, if you notice, like a building or something, they have a very characteristic height of a door. It's just creating phi, the interval of phi, with the entire wall. So it's physical things, their dimensions and their shapes are capturing energy found in nature being created by God. Think that you go into nature and it's like a reboot. You go deep. Nasty little cares or worries, they melt away. And you start to go into homeostasis, which is your body restoring. So in dimensions, in buildings, but also in statues and in fluid shapes. The harmonics, we talked about the harmonics in the vows. Playing with harmonics is kind of like playing with colors. They're a subdivision of the whole. And you can even grasp the pitches of them, of harmonics, and they make this very fluid shape. And I'm being shown that those would be some of the shapes of, let's say, the drapes of the dresses, for example, of a statue of someone, and that the proportions in their statues, they, phi, for example, must be in your body 10,000 times. So they had these blueprints from God, it would just be the way they would think about it. Nature, sacred geometry, a different way of looking at nature in terms of its shapes. Even in their writing, they had like stylists or templates or something, so that if you're handwriting Egyptian letters, they're all going to be in the proportions found in the body, found in a tree, found in a star system. And it's going to be, of course, the same with the colors. I mean, they're all like octaves, which a musical octave is C, C, same note. It's just higher or lower. So there's like different levels of blueprints that God's used on this planet. And that they were used in statues and statuaries. And, oh my gosh, I'm getting these messages faster than I can create them. Okay, so one thing was that we think that that it's very superstitious to worship a statue. But there's two things there. One is, just as the Hindu masters can say that you look at this yantra and you'll achieve enlightenment in one line because you're receiving these frequencies of this very whole set of consciousness. Likewise, when you would behold certain statues, you could receive the frequencies. It would be carved in such a manner that it's creating the shapes found in nature. It's creating the same harmonies or proportions found in the heavenly night sky. And that it could indeed be a method of enlightenment. And that that it wasn't always that the statue was a god, but that the statue could raise your consciousness or get you to a god. And then they're also saying that and a statue has consciousness, a rock has consciousness, and that a higher being can embody whatever it chooses, including a statue. So, and I see these pictures again in the Isis temple during this ceremony, and I saw it again in the earlier reading where during these plays we talked about earlier, pageantries of Horus and Isis and Osiris, that they would take out these statues and allow the people to behold them. It's kind of like get their spiritual groceries, and the higher beings, the priests, would kind of like bless the people. And think of a Hindu master giving you Shaktipat, which is like a firebolt of spiritual energy. I've had it before. I couldn't even stand up afterwards. It was wonderful. But anyway, so they're using these statues to embody frequencies. And I'm also being shown the statues of the Egyptians. It's almost like, this is me speaking, not them, but it almost like somebody has like a yardstick in their back or something. They got their heads up and they're very straight in the back. And if you look at people today, we don't want to be egotistical, full of ourselves, above anybody else, and we kind of slouch and are a little natural. But that they're showing me these statues of Egyptians like there was a yardstick, and they sat or stood so straight that they were really straight. And they're showing me that is that body position enables you sometimes to ingest the right frequencies. For example, that's what yoga's all about, or to release negative frequencies. And of course, when you look at these statues, they would have people copy them, and they would have them maybe hold their chin up, and maybe people did think they were stuck up, but I don't think that was an issue then. They were trying to walk within their power, and do that, they would open up your solar plexus chakra and receive more energy and light, which is nothing but blessing for you and everybody around you. And they're showing me that with these statues, the positions of these statues was very enlightening, and that we've lost the meaning of things. We deem everything as entertainment, like you go to a museum to look at statues as entertainment. And you're very familiar, I believe, with that it's far more. No, does that help?
Yes, I am. I'm speechless, but I feel your ambiance. The word is entrainment. It's not entertainment. There's a deepening with the entrainment field when you're in the presence of these so-called statues. Yes. There's so much more, and you're helping so much right now to connect the dots, which have been out of my reach for some reason, but I feel the Shakti like I'm just in this higher state instantaneously right now. So,
Kim, I would encourage you to listen to the earlier portion of the show, and we talked about entrainment, and we talked about a lot of things. It'll be very fascinating to you. It's been an amazing show, and thank you so much for asking that question, because I am just sitting here in awe as I'm listening to you, Jill, just bring through all of this information. So, Kim, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Many blessings.
Same to you, Kim. Okay, Jill, thank you for all of that. Sarah just wrote in. She said, "Wow, Jill, you are pure magic. Thank you for you. What a call. You are. This has been such an amazing call. There's a question in here from Rosa Maria from Spain. Mm-hmm. Jill, we have people from all over the world that listen to this show, and as you can tell from just some of the questions, but and I've wondered this too. So she says, I'm curious to know if Isis and Mary Magdalene are of the same soul in different incarnations. And it goes on, but what can you say about that?
Yes, I do. I do believe there's a linkage, and very closely related, and perhaps overlapping. I'm not sure with souls if there isn't some type of soul braiding, i.e., I think that's a term coined by someone else, but where people get so close that they share energies.
Right.
But the story of Horus and Osiris and Isis is very much like the story of Mary, Joseph, and Jesus. Kind of like same story in different epics. And in both cases, they're embodying the divine feminine and their soft power. And they're about nurturing and loving and forgiving, and everyone is welcome. And it's this, it's pretty much the same energy. And I'm also getting this picture, and I might as well talk about it just because I'm getting it. So it's probably related to our beautiful lady who asked this question. I'm just seeing a picture of 12 stars of a crown on someone's head. And I think it's like the Order of Mary, and that it does indeed relate to Isis, and that it's like representing the white light going through the prism, going into all the colors, like the color wheel, like red, orange, yellow, and so forth. So to 12 colors, and that's matching to 12 stars in the night sky. Think of the 12 astrological signs, although the ancient people would have specific stars, not, like Capricorn being a system of stars. So, and that each star would have a different frequency in its orbit, rotation, etc. And they would come into the colors. And I'm trying to figure out why I'm seeing this. I'm seeing this. I believe it's because our listener has been in the Order of Mary, and on an etheric basis, like in Rosa May, thank you. She's earned this, and she's earned this gift, and sometimes we give them to loved ones, and people steal them etherically or between lives or whatever, I don't know, but we lose them sometimes, and that I feel like hers is going to be restored, and she earned it. It's hers. And I'm also getting that people give away their spiritual gifts out of love, but if you really love others, you need to keep them, because that's where they're going to do the most good. And I'm just getting like an overlay between Isis and Mary, and I'm just seeing these 12 stars like a crown, but they're stars. But it looks like a crown, and by restoring it, what it does is it gives you would be on the fourth dimension, so you wouldn't see it, but clairvoyant people should, and that it's giving you like if you were a painter, it's giving you a dab of every color to paint with. It's got the gamut of the energies. It's a very beautiful thing that she's earned.
What a beautiful message. Rosa Maria, and she is here almost every day. She's such a beautiful soul from Valencia, Spain. So Rosa Maria, thank you for your question, and I hope that you were here to receive that. And Jill, I want to highlight, we have one more audio that you've created to listen to. I definitely want to do that. And for those who came in late, perhaps I want to highlight the offering that Jill has created for us is the Deep Egyptian Secrets and Magic of Old Egypt Rediscovered. That is the title of her package that can be found at straighttalkforthesoul.com/marketplace. And this is just, it's full of information. It's 6 hours of videos on ancient Egypt, an hour of Sephiroth video attunements, 30 minutes of audios on the Sephiroth higher dimensional attunements, and you can just read through the tremendous amount of information and that Jill has compiled here. Jill, do you want to say anything else about that right now?
If you're drawn to ancient Egypt, I would imagine that you will find familiarity in bringing back some of these techniques. Think of Reiki as a technique. It's popular at this time, but there would have been techniques that were just different in each one of the temples. Techniques in each one of the temples, and we're beginning to remember them and start to use them and accelerate our journey to all that is and consciousness and all the things that we want. And and there's also a video on doing your own past lives to help you step through it, to help you remember who you've been with and who you're attracted to and what some of your gifts are from ancient Egypt.
Beautiful. I think everyone who's been drawn to listen to this call, whether they're listening with us live right now or to the replay, there's lots to uncover and activate and rediscover because I don't think they would be here otherwise. So what an incredible opportunity to do so with everything that you have compiled in this offering, Jill. So thank you. And it looks like we have one more of the audio samplings, which is do you want to kind of preface what we're going to be listening to, Jill, before we go into it, or do some kind of channeling or meditation?
That's good. Well, why don't I just talk a little bit about it? It is Hawood, and Hawood. Let me see. Hold on. It is the energies of splendor, serenity, sincerity, controlling your practical and emotional energies, controlling your mental powers, intellect that's flexible, balance, thought and feelings. That's the energy or the porthole that it's bringing down. And I do the sounds, I do the harmonics through the vowel codes, and then I kind of lace the music. It's my music, and I've laced it with frequencies. The Sephiroth, among many things, are also numbered. And so, I have the number of 888 because this is number 8. 888 is the sound, as well as a master number. And I also have in this one the carnelian crystal frequency, the frequency of Mercury's orbit. It's associated with Mercury. Frequencies and sounds of whales, crickets, birds, air. It's associated with the wind, the element of the wind, and storm and lightning. And it has the channeled energies of Thoth and Sebek. So what do you think? Would you like me to channel before we go into it?
Always, anytime.
Okay.
If you're ready and open, yes. The answer is yes, always.
Okay. So we'll just I don't know. I'm just seeing images right now, just showing you what I'm seeing. I'm getting that Sabak. People might not think of him as a good guy, and that I'm getting that he later went on with Buddha, and maybe was Buddha, and that he's learned the energy of suffering and of duality, and that he's a very benevolent force, much like Buddha came here to teach people about how to endure, handle, manage suffering. Thoth being, I've been in temples with him. I really like Thoth. Thoth being, he's the ibis bird coming in from Lyra, the planet Lyra, and he's from a planet with a lot of white angels, and he has like words of power. He had the books of knowledge, and secrets in the sound and voice and words and creation. So I'll just close my eyes and see who comes through. How's that?
Perfect.
Okay. I am Thoth. I am grateful to rejoin with many of my beloved students. All those listening on this call have been in my temple. For anyone who worked in the priesthood spent time in the temple of Thoth. It was the bookwork, the groundwork, the learning of the overall picture of what we would term magic, you would term physics or quantum physics. The Temple of Thoth had the histories of races far beyond your written histories. It had the histories of ideas, of methods in quantum physics that do not need to be reinvented, that are there in your subconscious, waiting to rebirth. And now is the time of rebirth. Hence, I'm very excited to speak with you and to walk with you if you invite me, to help you rebirth the techniques, the power, the mastery that you have demonstrated in former lives. Now is the time that we all must raise the earth. Think that time is all occurring at once. It's like a spiral. So if the past and present are all occurring at once, think of all the wars, the abuse, the suffering, the starving. We need a lot of light to lift the earth. And light comes to you in more powerful ways than you can imagine. The difference between a low musical note, might be 10 cycles per second between maybe 100 cycles per second between an octave. But if you get in the higher realms, the difference between a note could be 10,000 cycles per second. So any progress while a light worker is going along its journey is far more significant than your past would predict. So I am excited to take this evolutionary leap with you and invite you to walk with me simply by calling upon me, to take this journey into greater and greater light. And I bless you with this Sephiroth.
Okay, Jill, that was beautiful. I get chills when I listen to this. And there's this yellow butterfly that keeps flying by. Oh my goodness, Jill, I cannot thank you enough. I have resonated with everything you have shared and all the channelings that have come through. Have been so beautiful. I want to highlight the channeling that came through right before the audio was played from, how do you pronounce it? Do you pronounce it Toth or Thoth, or I hear it in different ways. Toth, okay.
I'm not sure there's a perfect way.
Sure.
And I'm sure he gets it no matter what you say.
Thoth, and I thought that was such a beautiful message that he brought forth, and this is really an invitation to work with him to rebirth, as he shared techniques and power and mastery that we've demonstrated in former lives, and that was, that just so resonated with me. I think that I can't wait to listen to everything in your package, Jill. I'm so resonating with it. I just think it's wonderful. And we have so many people who have written in our webcast, Jill, just sending their love and gratitude, and they have clearly enjoyed the call as much as I have. And I hope that you've had fun as well.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, anytime, Jill. Definitely would love to have you back. So, Jill, all my love to you, all the gratitude from this community I'm just extending to you, and to everybody who's joined us. Thank you for the tremendous gift of your light and your presence and your love and your time today. If you've joined us by computer, please continue to send us your comments and feedback. We would love to hear from you. And then consider gifting yourself with the opportunity to expand on what you experienced here today, and consider Jill's very generous and beautiful special offer. You can find that and all of our offers in our marketplace at straighttalkforthesoul.com, and you'll receive a lot more information on that in your replay email later today. These are opportunities for you to take your expansion, your evolution, healing, everything, your manifestation, your potential, just to expand on that. So if it resonates with you, give yourself the gift and say yes. And I am sending waves and waves of love and light and so much gratitude from my heart to yours. May you feel it, receive it, offer it to those you encounter today or tonight, wherever you are in the world. And until next time, as always, please give yourself full permission to shine instead of shrink, express instead of suppress, and of course own that amazing, powerful glow of yours. I'll see you back here in this playground of light next time, everybody. Bye-bye.